We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park, the championship meet, running now through Florida Derby weekend, March 31st.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome. That was extra long black today. I don't know whether that bodes well for me or not, but welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow in the studio. As usual on a Sunday morning, we'll recap some. Boy, there was some really nice stakes action yesterday. And again, we always, this time of year, you're looking at the calendar turning and anticipating maybe some performances from next year as horses maybe move out of a certain division, 2-year-old to 3-year-old, or 3-year-old to older. Or just bolster a division. And again, we had some very nice performances yesterday that likely play into that scenario. So we'll hit on some recap. We'll have some news and notes, and we'll do a little handicapping this morning as well. Before we do that, let me remind you, you saw that the graphic up just before we started the show. We are a Toys for Tots drop-off point here at the Clubhouse Racebook. And if you're not aware, our TV studio is in the back of the Clubhouse Racebook. And so if you come down to the Racebook, for various reasons, head out to the front side a few times during the afternoon. So say hello if you stop by. But in our lobby, there is a drop-off box for Toys for Tots. So put a smile on someone's face for Christmas. Bring in a new unwrapped toy between now and December 11th. And again, right in our lobby, you can drop it off for Toys for Tots. Again, until December 11th, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. That's the same location that today you can come down and watch all the football action. Every Sunday throughout the season, we have all the racing and all the football action available for you here at the Clubhouse Racebook. Come down, grab a little something to eat at Fridella's, enjoy the action with the crowd we get out here who enjoys some football and some horse racing on Sundays. It's always a lot of fun. Again, Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. I'll remind you that next Friday at the Clubhouse, we have a $100 knockout challenge. We'd love to see you down here for that as well. Just giving you a head start. Friday's also going to be opening day at Oaklawn. Today, closing day at Del Mar. And again, we're in that part of the year where there's a lot of action. We're, week and a half, couple weeks into the fairgrounds. Tampa started up last week. Oaklawn coming up, as I say, on Friday. Some of my favorite tracks. I like the wintertime tracks. And again, we're also at a period where you think, it's kind of quiet, end of the year. Not this weekend. It was a lot of fun. And we'll kick things off in New York. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. Cigar Mile, Remsen, Demoiselle, Go for Wand on the card yesterday at Aqueduct. And we'll start it out with the Cigar Mile. I like Aqueduct, and I must say at 4-1, that one kind of disappointed, running 10th in the field of 12. They got a nice field of 12 there to face off in the Grade 2 Cigar Mile, one of the last major events on the New York calendar for the year. I thought Ever So Mischievous was interesting for Brad Cox. That one went off as the favorite and wound up 11th in the field of 12. I would say the race kind of fell apart, but it did not fall apart for Hoist to Gold. Hoist to Gold, and I'll tip my cap to our colleague Anthony Mormino, who rolled the dice a little bit with Hoist to Gold as a Dallas Stewart runner. And Dallas can get it done in big races, as we've seen with upsetters. And he did it with Hoist to Gold. And as I say, it didn't really fall apart for that one. Kind of interesting. Hoist to Gold was coming out of a sixth place finish in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. But the story after the race yesterday was John Velasquez said to trainer Dallas Stewart, should point this horse for the Cigar Mile. Doesn't like dirt in his face, should aim for the lead as soon as possible. And Dallas said, we'll do it, and you're going to ride. And that's what happened. And didn't get the lead right out of the gate, but got the lead pretty soon. And they were going 22 and change, 44 and change, 109 and change. And they turned into the stretch. Hoist the Gold's the number 11 horse here on the lead. And he runs away. And again, I as I say, I can't say it fell apart exactly, other than maybe some of the other horses, because a lot of folks were thinking, well, let's take a look at Senior Buscador as maybe one that can close late, the 3 horse, if things do fall apart. Well, as I say, maybe they fell apart behind Hoist the Gold, and sure enough, Senior Buscador picked up those pieces for second, but no challenge for the winner. So it is Hoist the Gold for Dallas Stewart. John Velasquez on board. Senior Buscador does make the late run, but the chart has him 5 lengths back. And then it was close up for third between Castle Chaos, who got third over 3 Technique. And again, some logicals. Dr. Ardito finished 7th in there. Creative 10th. Ever So Mischievous finishes 11th as the favorite. So again, some of the logicals did not fulfill their promise in there, but nice, nice call by John Velasquez. A nice follow-up to a 6th in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. They come to New York. Dallas Stewart, some of the quotes he had in the Racing Form, I think it was a Dave Grenig article, said he was watching from Louisiana. And those are the kind that are fun to watch, certainly, because, again, on the lead all the way around and at the top of the stretch, I'm sure you're thinking, all right, are we going to – and he pulls away. If you're part of the Hoist the Gold team, you had to feel great about that. If you had a little Hoist the Gold at $19.40, you had to watch that, and those are the kind you like, where in the stretch you're just, all right, how much is this one going to pay for me? Dallas Stewart said after the race that Hoist the Gold is going to head briefly to a Kentucky farm, maybe spend a couple of weeks just out on the farm, and then head down to Dallas's base down at the fairgrounds. So a couple of weeks just kind of R&R for Hoist the Gold. And then, again, I think it was the Grenig article, and Grenig said, when the Saudi Cup was brought up to Dallas, he kind of said, well, that's interesting. Maybe we'll think about that. So I might think about the Saudi Cup coming up for Hoist the Gold. Senior Buscador, again, with a nice late run. They thought maybe the Pegasus for that one. Pegasus and the Pegasus Turf. With the folks who were kind of thinking, yeah, maybe we'll go for that. If these people all show up, those are going to be a couple of very, very nice races. Now, I will say, I went and looked at the tried to find the weekend buyer figures, and I haven't seen anything posted yet. But a while ago, somebody, and again, it's not an official number, so I put this out there with trepidation, but somebody posted a 109 buyer for Hoist the Gold. Now, we'll see. Again, that was not an official number, but if that's right, it was a nice performance, clearly, visually, and it was legit and whatnot, time-wise, but now I'm very curious to see if that number holds up, and I'll kind of keep refreshing and keep looking. Usually if the numbers come out, people do pop on Twitter, and that's where I found this, but as I say, it wasn't an official kind of buyer person or DRF person, so take that with a grain of salt, but if that number holds up, it'd be, as I say, absolutely solid. That was a great performance, but to me, maybe the best performance of the day was Dornoch in the Remsen. Dornoch, a full sibling to Mage, the Kentucky Derby winner. And with that breeding, certainly attracted attention in the first couple of starts of the career. The first start was a second place finish at Saratoga, end of July. And off of that, horse obviously was second place finish, is still a maiden, and they ship to the Sapling down at Monmouth at a mile and run an okay second. And then to Keeneland, back into the proper maiden special company, and wins in the third career start with a solid 90 buyer. So off of that, they come to New York and try graded company in the Remsen. We'll watch the stretch run here. It's just an incredible performance. Dornock takes the lead, and you think, okay, Dornock in pretty good shape, be the number 3 horse. But Sierra Leone, who was going out second career start for Chad Brown, the number 7 horse, gets the momentum, the number 7 again, and you think, oh, this is going to be a nice performance for a 2-year-old in only the second career start. And sure enough, he goes by Dornock. But Dornock says, no, I am not giving up here. And look, he's got about a length on him. And Dornock keeps playing, keeps coming. And Dornock winds up winning. We have the photo finish here, so you see how close it was. The chart margin is a nose. Dornock went off as the favorite in the race. Boom. But more impressively, if you watch the head-on, Dornock gets squeezed and kind of bumps into the rail. As I say, it was just a big performance. So horses, you get a length back. They don't typically come back like that. And then, I meant for you to show the head-on still shot that we had, guys. Yeah, that's what we want to see when I mention head-on. So he gets a length ahead here, and you typically don't see them come back like this. But as I say, when we see the still shot, you'll see how tight it got for, and so that makes it all the more amazing. He's kind of bouncing off the rail and comes back, and it just, as I say, it was to me, it was maybe the best performance of the day to get a length like that. Do we have that head-on still shot? No, that's the photo finish. There was another picture. I will recommend people to go look at the head-on of the race, though. And again, it was quite a performance by Dornock. And again, I haven't seen any buyer there. I'd love to see the buyer, the follow-up to the 90. See what he did there. The Remsen for years for me early on was a late season mile and an eighth in New York. There we go. Oh, we've got it. And it got even tighter than that. It was impressive to see a horse. And Danny Gargan said afterwards, usually a horse hits the rail, they'll kind of give it up, but he comes back, and so just mentally, it was a big performance. And again, the Remsen for me early on was a race that I thought, late season mile and an eighth in New York that's going to play into the Kentucky Derby. I don't know whether over the years, the Kentucky Derby has winner has shown in here necessarily, but boy, there's some good horses coming out of wins in the Remsen. I mean, you go back. I'm just looking back now to the 1990s. I have a list here. Gopher Gin, Thunder Gulch, Coronado's Quest, Rockport Harbor Bluegrass, Cat, Honor Code, Mohaman, more recently Catholic Boy, Mo Donegal, and this year Dornock, and clearly the team. And it was funny to see Randy Hill. He was kind of dressed like me, and if you know owner Randy Hill and see him up at Saratoga, he is a little more outrageous with his attire. And he said, I dressed to go in the winner's circle. And he clearly was looking forward to bigger and better things for this one. And I don't blame anybody involved with the team here. That was a nice performance yesterday. So we'll have to watch. Oh, and I also pulled up, I'm still not sure I would be thrilled about this. I pulled up the final odds on the Kentucky Derby pool from last week. Dornock at 19-1. And let me just pull it. There we go. Dornock at 19-1. So if you got it at 19-1, I'm sure you're thinking, oh, great. And congratulations. I think it's okay. But I'm not envious because it's still, you just got to get there, and we're quite a ways away. So I've said it before. You get into these early pools, and I'm looking for 30 or 40 to 1 at least, but 19 to 1 Dornoch last week when that pool closed. All right, let's also move on to the Go for Wand. Again, the Demoiselle, the 2-year-old ladies, but for older females, it is the Go for Wand at 1 mile, $200,000 up for grabs. I went with Good Sam for Chad Brown. And I'm just looking here. I mixed up my chart. There we go. And that one, unfortunately, the 2 Chad Brown runners, Good Sam and Gerrymander, went off as the first choice and the third choice. They wound up next to last and last in the field of 5. So they were a little bit disappointing. Not disappointing, however, was Dr. B. Going out for Butch Reed. Dr. B was the reigning champion from this race, had won this race pretty easily last year. Subsequently, it started 5 times this year. No wins and only a couple second-place finishes. But in the previous start to yesterday, had faced the boys in the Parks Dirt Mile. So, was behind the likes of Gunite in there. Butch Reed, after the race, said, we sent the horse to the farm for a few weeks just to freshen up. She comes back in the Go for Wand yesterday. It'll be number 10, Dr. B, 4 to 1. You got a nice price on the reigning champion. But again, no wins so far in 3 starts this year. But Dr. B pretty much takes them all the way around on a track that clearly was a little bit speed favoring yesterday, given the results in the various races. But she looks good, pulls away here in the stretch. The chart margin is going to wind up to be just under 4 lengths. Tizzy in the Sky, second. Venti Valentine, third. And as I say, Good Sam, Gerrymander, disappointing from the Chad Brown barn, running 4th and 5th, but no disappointment for Dr. B. This was a very, very nice performance. Butch Reed talked about maybe the Barbara Fritchie at Laurel, but also said they had discussed breeding the horse. So we'll see what the new year holds for Dr. B. With this win, do they continue? Do they maybe the Barbara Fritchie, I think, is in February, so I think they could go in that, maybe still have time to hit the breeding shed. We shall see, though, what's up for Dr. B. But nice career with a couple of wins in the Go for Wand. That was the 6th win in 22 career starts, put her over $500,000 in earnings. So, again, she certainly would go to the breeding shed with nice credentials to produce some nice runners going forward. But, as Butch Reed said, maybe some racing still ahead for Dr. B. Finally, in New York, let's take a look at the Demoiselle, as I said earlier, 2-year-old fillies squaring off. And grade 2 event, $250,000. The horse that took the action at even money was Life Talk. I took a little bit of a shot against this one out of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. And I said when I handicapped it, I wouldn't be shocked if this one won for Pletcher and Rapoli. But I just thought others were maybe a little more intriguing. I took a little pop with Dolomite. Dolomite is the number 2 horse. And you'll see kind of gets jammed up a little bit. Dolomite had some traffic. And so in only the 3rd career start, first time around 2 turns, first stakes race, the 3rd place finish, I thought, for Dolomite was okay. We'll watch that one going forward. Running 2nd was Shimmering Allure. Ken McPeak runner coming out of a win in the Tempted, but it was Life Talk. Pletcher and Rapoli ran 4th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly, and then comes back to New York and wins it pretty easily at even money. Again, led most of the way around on a track that played to that on Saturday, but it was a nice performance from Life Talk. That was the 9th win in the Demoiselle for trainer Todd Pletcher, and the 4th straight. It is becoming the Todd Pletcher invitation there. But it was Irad Ortiz on board for Mike Rapoli. Todd Pletcher again with his 9th win in the Demoiselle. All right, let's take a look at some of the other action. I pulled up well, actually, why don't we take a break? Because that's what I had on the rundown, and it's time for a break at 10:20. So why don't we do that? Head for a break. We'll come back. And again, I have some out-of-town stakes to look at, some from Florida and one from the West Coast. So we'll do that when we come back. All of that when Racing Across America continues. Stay tuned.
This is a championship meet. All the best jockeys in the world are here, and I'm excited to ride against them. You get to watch some really incredible, talented athletes out there.
To us, it's a place to be in the winter.
I love Gulfstream Park because of the racing.
The palm trees, the beach is right here. The horse racing is some of the best in the country.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Don't forget, we'll be back on in, about an hour and a half or so with OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon. Aqueduct today kicks off at 12:20 and Gulfstream at 12:10. So keep that in mind for a little bit later on. But now back to some of the action from yesterday. And again, I'm going to take a look at some racing from Florida. I pulled this one up before the race was run, but I thought we'll hold on to it because, again, I suppose, an interesting handicapping lesson. Ben Tornado in reality yesterday went off at 30 cents to the dollar. I bought into it. Ben Tornado, 4 for 4, had won them all for the most part, other than the debut effort, which is a neck. The other ones were daylight, and and 3 of them were stakes races. This looked like a real solid Florida bred who had the potential to move out into open company. Had been facing restricted in that Stallion series down there. It's a rich series, and so you completely understand why they stick to it. I mean, he had won the $100,000 race, the $200,000 yesterday was $300,000. But I said yesterday, I bought into it. I had him on top. I thought Mattingly was maybe a little bit interesting off the second to Ben Tornado last time. They were both trying 2 turns for the first time now. And I quoted or paraphrased Harvey Pack, who used to say, be leery of using horses trying something for the first time. And so that's why I'll show this now. Ben Tornado's the number 2 horse. And as we come around the turn, you can see him there, and he's not pulling away. And you get the feeling, the 2 turns might be the Achilles heel. And sure enough, not only pulls away, the other 2 start to pull away from him. Winds up to be Seminole Chief over Secret Lover, who comes late to get second. And Ben Tornado runs third. So again, the 2 turns didn't quite play into his wheelhouse there. I'll also note, and I didn't, so I'm not redboarding here, I thought Ben Tornado, as I say, I bought into it. Mattingly on the second to Ben Tornado last time looked like an alternative, but that one, Ben Tornado, 30 cents to the dollar, 5-2 Mattingly. But then everything else blew up. I had the other 2 in the 3rd and the 4th spot. I thought they were, interesting alternatives. And as I say, I'm not redboarding. I'm saying I didn't do it. But again, a handicapping lesson for all of us, I suppose, when you look up at the board. You got a horse trying something for the first time. You got a couple of horses that are prices. 2 horses that, again, I had, down at the bottom of my mix, but I thought were interesting. They run first and second at 12-1 and 32-1. It was a $500 exacta in a 7-horse field. So again, it's not going to work out for you all the time, but that's something to tuck in the back pocket and think about in the future. Again, with a scenario like that, with the horse taking all the action, but has not tried the 2 turns. And as I say at the top of the stretch, it just had a look of this isn't going to be his day. Now, does wind up at a length behind in third. Wasn't badly beaten necessarily, but and kind of in an effort that you would think sometimes the first time around 2 turns, they're still figuring it out. So I wouldn't be shocked. And if I owned the horse, I probably would. I would not decide off of this one. Oh, we have a confirmed sprinter. I'd probably try him again at 2 turns, but we'll see what's ahead for Ben Tornado after a little bit of a disappointment yesterday in the Stallion Series finale, I believe he in reality is. All right. Also, wanted to take a look over on the west coast of Florida because we have stakes action starting out at Tampa. And, this could play to some stakes later in the meet as well. Typically, you'll see horses coming out of these 2 races later on. 2-year-old fillies, 2-year-old males. We'll start things out on the 2-year-old filly side of things in the Sandpiper. Let Them Watch, the number 4 horse, will be the winner. Comes in most recently from a stakes try at Keeneland. Ran up the track in the Myrtlewood. Behind You Almost Had Me, who was the nice stakes winner last weekend. I believe the Fern Creek for Brad Cox, but was well beaten there. But she comes down from the try at Keeneland behind a really talented runner. Shows up at Tampa and wins pretty easily. Chart margin 3/4 of a length. Pays $7.60. Chi-Chi runs second at 2-1, and the favorite Tupi at 6-5 runs third. But again, it was Let Them Watch, rebounding off a kind of a dud up at Keeneland. Started the career in July and August, going 2 for 2 at Gulfstream. So late summer, early fall. And then got that comebacker at Keeneland that wasn't much. And given as bad, was beating 23 lengths there. As bad an effort, that just seems like one you have to draw a line through. Going to be fun to watch. Let Them Watch. Off the 2 wins early in the career at Gulfstream and the win yesterday. And as I say, I would like to see her now get back towards more top company to validate, because that Keeneland start just does look really fluky now. Also yesterday at Tampa, as I say, the 2-year-old boys in the inaugural. And again, this could play into the 3-year-old path they have down at Tampa leading to the Tampa Bay Derby. Sometimes that's the case. And in fact, usually it's the case. It's not always productive, but you'll get some of these inaugural runners running in some of those 3-year-old stakes down there as the season progresses. The favorite was at 3-5, Patriot Spirit, and Patriot Spirit lives up to the favoritism. Patriot Spirit's the number 8 horse, won the career debut at Colonial, then ran 6th in the Iroquois and 4th in the Bowman Mill at Churchill and Keeneland. And like the winner of the last race, comes down from Keeneland, arrives at Tampa. Bullet workout in tow at Tampa, and I think that probably attracted a lot of attention. But wins off a length and 3/4 as you get a nice late run from Crazy Mason for Greg Sacco. Crazy Mason may be one to watch as well. That one had 4 races of experience and a couple of stakes tries under the belt, going out for Dean Reeves and company and Greg Sacco. And as I say, that was a nice little late run from Crazy Mason. But the winner at, as I say, 3-5, $3.20, Patriot Spirit. She's a little more defined against better company in the Iroquois and the Bowman Mill, having run 6th and 4th, and then came down to Tampa and woke up. So, and again, these horses can just kind of figure it out maybe. She'll be interesting to watch too. But between the boys and the girls, to me, Let Them Watch on the girl side of things, Patriot Spirit on the boys side of things, he'll be a little more questionable to me, Patriot Spirit. She, I think, is intriguing. Again, I'm a little more willing to look at her poor performance in Kentucky as an aberration, whereas Patriot Spirit, he did it a couple of times. And so, but we'll see going forward. I think they'll both, off of wins like this, try tougher company. And finally, let's take a look at the Hollywood Derby yesterday out at Del Mar on their closing weekend for this fall meet. No shock in here. Chad Brown sent a couple for Klarovich. He sent program trading and redistricting. Program trading, however, was the 4-5 favorite. Started the career with a couple of wins, then followed that up with a grade 1 win, third career start, went up to Saratoga and won the grade 1 Saratoga Derby Invitational, then down to Colonial for the Virginia Derby, went off as the 70 cent to $1 favorite, but wound up second to the really, really nice West Point runner Integration. So off of 4 career starts and showing a lot of promise, they ship out to Southern California, and it will be number 8 program trading under Flavian Prat getting it done, again, as the 4-5 favorite. Webslinger, who has been a real player in this 3-year-old turf division all year long, the number 5 horse for Mark Cassie, Tyler Gaffleone out for the ride. That one winds up second, and a close-up second. 8 is program trading. Number 5 is Webslinger, and you can see Webslinger coming. Just program trading got the jump, but these are both really, really nice turf runners. The turf division next year is going to be a lot of fun with the aforementioned Integration and horses like this. And as I say, this puts a little stamp on that subdivision I like quite a bit with a nice performance from 2 really nice players in the division, but that the 3-year-olds on the turf, as I said, starts early in the year and goes late in the year, and almost every venue has 1 or 2 nice races. Up here we have the Hall of Fame, and I wish, it may not be worth an eclipse, but I wish there was some kind of trophy given out, because I think, again, they face off all year long, and you get some of these horses, the cream is rising to the top, and like yesterday, you'll get a couple of them facing off. It's a fun subdivision, those 3-year-olds on the turf, as evidenced by a nice little battle like that, and it would kind of be fun if they would have a little 3-year-old on the turf, because of how intriguing it is all year long at tracks all across the country. If there was some kind of recognition maybe for the king of that crop, but at this point there isn't. Maybe we could make our own, as it were, but those would be 2 players in that battle for the crown of 3-year-olds on the turf, and it was a nice way to end up that subdivision season with the Hollywood Derby yesterday. All right, why don't we take another break? When we come back, a little handicapping for this afternoon, some news and notes on the day as well. All of that when the Sunday edition of Racing Across America continues. Stay tuned.
This is a championship meet. All the best jockeys in the world are here, and I'm excited to ride against them. You get to watch some really incredible, talented athletes out there.
To us, it's a place to be in the winter.
I love Gulfstream Park because of the racing.
The palm trees, the beach is right here. The horse racing is some of the best in the country.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome, excuse me. Welcome back to America. Welcome back to Racing Across America. It's great when you come back and the cough comes right as you come out of the commercial. I didn't mention yesterday, but I always like to tip our cap to good performances from local connections. And I talked about it yesterday, obviously, after the race was run. But, I feel for our friends at Bonaventure, Dan Collins and company. I know there's some locals involved in Oceans Reserve, who is a really good runner for that. I mean, if you have a partnership, this is the kind you root for. In the money far more often than not, has put some nice money in the bank. They got a win up at Saratoga from Oceans Reserve this year. But Oceans Reserve was in an allowance event, a New York bred, in an open allowance event yesterday. And again, with the way the track was playing, Javier Castellano, very clever, went out and took the lead. And about the eighth hole, you thought, Oceans Reserve is going to do this. And again, always rooting for the local connections. And coming up late, the Linda Rice runner. And it's just, you keep going. And the Linda Rice runner just got Oceans Reserve at the wire. It was a great effort, though, from Oceans Reserve. Another really good effort from Oceans Reserve. But believe me, I feel for everybody involved in that one because, again, most of the stretch you had to feel like we're going to get it, and then just got caught late. But again, I wanted to tip my cap because, as I say, if you have a partnership, Oceans Reserve is the kind of horse you want to own, and it was a very nice performance yesterday. All right, let's take a look at late pick 4 at Aqueduct today. And again, I don't have scratches yet. I'm not putting a ticket together, but just give you some ideas on the late pick 4, which includes some stakes action on this Sunday afternoon. Again, post time at Aqueduct today, 12:20. Sixth race will kick off the late pick 4. State-bred optional claimer, non-winners of 2 other than 9 furlongs the trip. In the sixth, I have a 3, 4, 8, and 2. I'm going to put Prince of Pharaohs on top. It's Rick Dutrow, who's just originally I had others over this one, and I thought, you know what? Dutrow is, again, the last couple of weeks just been very potent, it seems like. I'll take a little shot with Prince of Pharaohs at a 5-1 morning line and play around with that one. As I say, though, I had juggled things around, and Un Ojo was actually my top pick originally. So take that for what it's worth, but comes out of the Empire Classic. Nice third place finish last time. And again, now moves into a state-bred, non-winners of 2 other than, so a more proper condition. But you go down the page, this horse was not only in stakes company, but was running well in some open stakes company, including having won the Rebel down at Oaklawn last year, February 2022. So this is a nice little New York bred facing, again, New York bred optional claimer, non-winners of 2 other than. So Un Ojo likely to be very contentious in here. And then Exit Right comes in from Parks, Delaware Parks. I just found it interesting that Jamie Ness decides to, let's go to New York and take a shot for an $80,000 purse against New York breds after having spent a lot of time out of town and successful time out of town. This is a 17-time winner. You don't see that a lot, but this is a 5-year-old with 47 career starts and 17 wins, but comes up to New York off a couple of wins, Delaware and Parks. And Exit Right, I think, can be a player in here as well. So, again, for me, in the sixth at Aqueduct, I have a 3, 4, 8, and 2. As I said, there's a couple of stakes on the agenda at Aqueduct this afternoon. New York Stallion Series in the 7th for the fillies and mares going 7, 4, 8, and 6. And I'll mention, again, with local connections, Vallelujah. I didn't put that one in my mix off the recent races, but East Avenue Racing, as I understand, a group of folks who kind of got together, having met peering through the fence during pandemic times, if I'm correct. And subsequently, they invested in Vallelujah, and last August at Saratoga, August of 2022, they wind up in the winner's circle with the Robbie Davis trained, Jackie Davis ridden Vallelujah. And that was a fun winner's circle. I was down, took some pictures there. So as I say, I did not use Vallelujah, but we always like to root for the locals. So we'll see what she can do today. For me, though, in this seventh at Aqueduct, I'm 7-4, 8-6. Morning matchup on top. Butch Reed. And we saw yesterday he comes to New York with a purpose. And this one tried to turn back the alarm against Open Stakes Company last time and ran an okay third behind Interstate Daydream, getting back to State Bred Company today. I should say these are sire stakes. So these are under the New York side. They're not necessarily state breds because Morning Match is actually a Pennsylvania bred. And if you look 2 and 3 starts back, was facing Pennsylvania bred stakes runners down at Parks. But again, with Central Banker, New York sire stakes, this is. So fits in on those conditions. But again, the last couple of races seem to indicate in good form. I think can be a player. Even money here on the morning line. I'm not totally convinced I'm buying into that. I think it's a little more competitive than that. On a best effort, Morning Matchup maybe does have an edge, but I'm not sure it's an overwhelming edge. Second slot, I'll go with Bustin' Bay, going out for Linda Rice, third start off the claim. Claimed this horse 3 starts back off a win. They came back and they won the following start, although they were disqualified. And then last time in the follow-up, the horse threw in an absolute clunker. I'm drawing a line through the latest and look at races just prior to that, in which case Bustin' Bay becomes very dangerous. Third slot, Sweetie, lately raced 3 wins and 6 starts. However, tried State Bred Stakes Company last time and ran an okay third. Should benefit from that. Third start back off a little bit of a summertime layoff. Makes sense. Bank on In, I think, is playable. Phil Serpi and Manny Franco as well. So, again, in the New York Stallion Series for the Fillies and Mares going 7 in the 7th race, I have it 7, 4, 8, and 6. 3-year-olds and up, same situation, New York Stallion Series in the 8th, 7 furlongs. Again, the trip in here. Have to mention again, we have some locals involved. Lobster for Eddie F's. And again, I tout you, now they have 2 locations, Saratoga and the Clifton Park location. Eddie F's, great. If you ever enjoyed a clam shack on the shore in New England, you'll get similar fare at Eddie F's. And I love the clam shacks in New England, and I love Eddie F's. They have the booth at the track in the summertime too, but fried clams and lobster rolls and chowder, good stuff. So I will tout that end of the business, but Eddie F's Racing also has a lot of fun, and Lobster has been a nice horse for them over the years. Won at Finger Lakes 2 back. Tried the Empire Classic last time. Less successful there. I didn't use Lobster today off that latest race, but certainly, again, rooting for them. But for me, I went 7, 8, 5, and 2. But Be the Boss on top. Mike Maker, Dylan Davis on board. Comes in off a nice win last time, going 6.5. I don't think the 7 is going to be an obstacle. 2 starts back. Did fade a little bit at 7, but 4 starts back up at Saratoga. Put in a good near miss at 7. So I think Be the Boss is interesting at a 4-1 morning line. Today's flavor, the number 8 horse in the second slot for me. Tossed in an absolute clunker last time in the Hudson, but that showed some speed and faded. Both of these, Be the Boss and Today's Flavor, have some speed. You'll have to watch today and see. Again, yesterday the track seemed to favor horses that were out in front. They turned for home and moved away, it seemed like. So watch the first few races and see if that holds up. But I think both of these horses, if it does, have some early speed to make them even more dangerous, perhaps. Barisi, stakes winner up at Finger Lakes, 2 back, tried the Empire Classic last time, and again, faltered a little bit in there. But you go down the page, and this horse has a little bit inconsistent, kind of good, bad, but on a good effort, Barisi is an absolute player in with this bunch. It's just is a little inconsistent. You don't quite know when you're necessarily going to get your best effort. Although, as I say that, we are on over the last 4, one of those good, bad patterns, and we're set for a good. We'll see if that works out today. But in the 8th, this afternoon, New York Stallion Series action, 7, 8, 5, and 2. And finally, in the 9th race, 9th and final on Sunday afternoon at Aqueduct, State-bred maiden claimers going 6.5. I split up the one entry. I put one on top and one on the bottom. I have it 1A, 8, 6, and 11, and then the plain one. So I'm going to put the 1A on top, Mangia. Too deep on the AE list. So it needs some help to get in. But I think if this one does get in off the debut effort, could be the one to beat in a relatively weak field. I think the third from Mangia in the debut. It's Dave Donk, it's Mike Rapoli, but the third in the debut effort was intriguing enough to put that one on top. But as I say, we'll need some help to get in too deep on the AE. If that one doesn't get in, going for glory, another Dave Donk runner comes in off an improved effort. Second career start when moved in for a tag, back in for the tag today. And again, it's a relatively weak bunch. If we get a repeat of that effort or a little improvement, becomes a player. Third spot, Love Like Crazy. First time out for Linda Rice. It's the kind of race where you can go with the fresh face, the first time starter. So I think Love Like Crazy is playable in here as a debut runner. Necessary and Proper for Rick Dutrow, has some experience. And again, not stellar experience, but pretty good compared to this bunch. And so I think that one is worth a look as well. In the ninth and final at Aqueduct, I have it 1A, 8, 6, and 11. And again, the 1A doesn't get in or some of the others scratch. The plain one would get at the bottom of my mix. All right, I'll give you a little update. Got the recap yesterday from NYRA. Our friend Keith McCalmont sending out the daily recap that goes over the card each day and payouts and whatnot. Pick 6, $43,000. The late pick 5, $4,200. But more importantly, I pulled it up to take a look at the human side of things currently at this Aqueduct meet. Chad Brown, 14 wins. Linda Rice with 10. Linda Rice on a little run this week. She put in a nice little set of wins, kind of closing the gap. Again, Chad Brown, 14 winners at the meet. Linda Rice, 10. Rick Dutrow and Rudy Rodriguez tied at 8. And Mike Maker and Christophe Clement tied at 7. So there's your leaderboard on the trainer side of things. On the jockey side of things, and again, this is the weekend where most of the connections, trainer side and jockey side, say we got in our last big stakes action in New York. Let's head south. And so we'll see how this plays out over the remainder of this Aqueduct fall meet. But currently, Manny Franco with 24 wins has a nice lead on Irad Ortiz at 15. Jose Ortiz tied with Luis Rivera and Kendrick Carmouche at 11. Jose Gomez at 10. Dylan Davis and Jose Lezcano tied at 9. But a nice 9-win lead for Manny Franco. And again, we'll see, the Ortiz brothers definitely heading out of town. Manny Franco, I'm not sure if I've read a winter plan for him. I'd be shocked if he sticks around, which bodes well for him holding on to that lead, obviously. Speaking of jockeys, it came out yesterday. Longtime New York fixture, Mike Luzzy, retiring. He's going to become agent for his son, Lane Luzzy, who is now riding in New York. And it was interesting. Mike Luzzy quoted in the Dave Grenig article, quote, "It was his idea," meaning his son, Lane Luzzy. Mike said, "Reluctantly, I'm going to finish my career. It's tough. I still felt like I had a comeback in me." 54 years old, 35-year riding career. Mike Luzzy, the Apprentice Eclipse Award winner from 1989. And that Eclipse Award is, I had pulled up the list earlier. Let's see if I can. It's a funny because there's an end point. When you reach a certain number of winners, you have a certain amount of time. And so as an Eclipse voter, it's always a puzzle. Not always. Most years it's a puzzle because you're looking at kind of apples and oranges. One person who had a pretty good 6 months of the year had lost the bug in June, let's say, and somebody else had it virtually all year long. And so it's a funny situation. But you go down and as I say, Mike Luzzy, the Eclipse Award-winning apprentice jockey in 1989, and you look over the years, going back to 1974, Chris McCarron, the Apprentice winner. 1977, No Shock Steve Cawthon. 78, Ron Franklin. 79, Cash Asmussen, Frank Lovato. In 1982, Richard Migliori. There was at the end of the 70s, early 80s, there was a very nice run there. 1984, Wesley Ward, now training, was the Eclipse Award-winning apprentice. 87, it was Kent DeSormo. And again, 89, Mike Luzzi. So again, it's a quirky award, but you go down over the years. Jeremy Rose in 2001, Emmett Jane Wilson in 2005, Julian Lepereau in 2006, Joe Talamo 2007, Tyler Gaffleone 2015, and he's certainly done the award proud in the 8 years since. 2 years ago, Jessica Pfeiffer was the Eclipse winning jockey. And I'm pretty sure she's now retired and has gone out in Southern California to kind of be on the TV analyst side of things, just a couple of years after having won the award. But again, Mike Luzzi, the Eclipse Award-winning apprentice jockey in '89, goes on to have a long career, over 3,500 wins. Geez, just great numbers. The Dave Grenig article talks a little bit about when the Grade 1 Brooklyn in '91 on Timely Warning, who was trained by his grandfather, won the Cigar Mile in 2007 on DeHare. Other nice Grade 1 winners, Luzzi was on Critical Eye and Spun Sugar. He, as I say, he was a New York fixture, but did begin his career in Maryland. And a lot of these, at least early on, the Maryland circuit has always been productive with apprentices. And Chris McCarron was in Maryland, I'm virtually certain, when he won. So he was Luzzi was in that pipeline, starting in Maryland, but again, spending most of the career being kind of a New York fixture. We mentioned this yesterday. I just wanted to kind of flesh it out. Headline on the Matt Haggerty article in the Racing Form: Judge orders CHRB, California Horse Racing Board, to disqualify Justify from Santa Anita Derby over scopolamine positive. A Los Angeles County Superior Court judge has issued an order requiring the stewards in California to disqualify Justify from the 2018 Santa Anita Derby. This was a legal case brought by Mick Ruiz, owner of Bolt d'Oro, who was second in that Santa Anita Derby, and he wants the win on the resume and purse money and whatnot. Both have gone on to very nice stud careers, but again, this was filed in 2020 by Ruiz and has kind of gone through the machinations of the court system. But finally, a couple of days ago, the judge said Justify should be disqualified from the Santa Anita Derby. Now, Twitter has subsequently said, well, it's a domino effect. Because of the points he got in the Santa Anita Derby, that allowed him in the Kentucky Derby. So the disqualification in the Santa Anita Derby means, well, he should be disqualified from the Kentucky Derby because he wasn't eligible, hence no Triple Crown and whatnot. Our friend Chuck Simon tweeted out, I think, a more logical look at that, which was at the time of the Kentucky Derby entries, he was eligible. So it was right for him to go and run and win. And I get kind of both sides of the argument, but I think that is the more logical one. When he entered, he was eligible. So I don't see a disqualification in the Kentucky Derby based on this situation necessarily. We'll see how that all plays out. I don't even know if that is much in the discussion at this point. As I say, I think the Chuck Simon take was probably the more logical, but we'll see. Does get disqualified from the Santa Anita Derby, Justify. And these are crazy numbers. Blood Horse article, and I think it was a press release that was sent out by the Maryland Jockey Club. Laurel Park in 2023, able to host 273 turf races, the most since 2019, and the highest amongst all the Mid-Atlantic tracks. Certainly they were able to have an edge on New York racing with the funny situation. I say that if you added up Belmont and Saratoga, they would have, and Aqueduct, New York would have had the edge actually. But it was good to see that Laurel, almost 19% higher than last year. They were in 230 grass races, got in 273. People love turf racing, and that turf course at Laurel is big enough that it allows them a lot of lanes. They can move things out and pick their spots. So again, it was good to see in a year and a half where we've had some stories about turf racing that at various venues that hasn't worked out necessarily. Laurel, good job in 2023. Now, all of that said, Maryland racing, there was another story. I didn't print this one up, but this authority that is kind of trying to decide what might be right for Maryland horse racing, they were supposed to have, I believe, their report out by Friday, December 1st. I think it's, if I read right, it's been moved to January 1st. And a lot of the conversation seems to be move everything to Pimlico. And I haven't been to Laurel in a long time, but I always thought it was a nice facility. Certainly the turf course, as borne out by this, is nice. It'll be intriguing to see how things shake out in Maryland, because for years that was one of the circuits in North America that was very prominent, and they fell on hard times, and I think recently they've kind of rebounded very nicely, but now again they're on the precipice of kind of having to make some decisions. And there was the unfortunate situation where a lot of tracks a few years ago were tying into the casino wagering, and in Maryland that just that had a bad end to that story that could have and should have played out much better. So again, we'll our friend Frank Vespi, of course, with the Racing Biz, which covers Maryland racing, is on top of a lot of that. So we'll check in with him periodically. Again, as this organization gets their final report out and real recommendations are made amongst the state, amongst First Racing, amongst the horsemen. Because as I say, historically, in the lifetime of my horse racing fandom career, Maryland has always been very important, and we hope it stays that way. But again, it was good news down at Laurel for the number of turf races they ran in a year where, as they say, some of the turf courses were a little bit disappointing for other venues. All right, going to wrap it up for this edition of Racing Across America. Again, don't forget, here at the Clubhouse Racebook, we're a drop-off point for Toys for Tots. You have about a week left to do that until December 11th, and we'd love to have you stop by. Our box in the lobby needs to be full of new and unwrapped toys, so bring a toy down anytime between now and the 11th. Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Don't forget, it's an NFL Sunday. Come on down, watch all the football action and all the racing action right here at the Racebook as well. Coming up on Friday, we have a knockout challenge down here. That'll be a lot of fun. Friday, also opening day for Oak Lawn. So should be fun. Fun week coming up. Fun December coming up here at Capital OTB. Again, you think, the end of the year kind of hazy and lazy. But the Malibu and the La Brea coming up, Southern California, to end the year with some Grade 1 events. And looking forward to it. This weekend was very, very nice on the calendar, as we talked about earlier in the show. Otherwise, again, back in about an hour or so with OTB Live for Sunday afternoon, I'll take a look at some Aqueduct. They'll kick off at 12:20. I'll take a look at some Gulfstream. They'll kick off at 12:10. We'll also have some Saratoga harness in the mix, and I'll ask the control room. Fourth track going to be Fairgrounds today? Control room? Fourth track going to be Fairgrounds? Today on the network. Yes, the fourth track will be Fairgrounds. I stumped them out there. So a lot of nice action this afternoon here on Capital OTB TV. We're going to wrap it up now for a Sunday morning Racing Across America. Seth Merrow in the studio. Thanks for joining us again. Back in an hour or so with OTB Live for Sunday afternoon. Stay tuned. Lots of great racing action ahead. We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park, the championship meet, running now through Florida Derby weekend, March 31st.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.